Shalom, family, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's weekly news update. It's always a pleasure and a privilege for us to get together with you and go through these headlines together. It's always a joy for us, and thank you so much, those of you that share the link, that encourage others to join us. We continue to. I thought we were through this with Facebook. We were able to share to our whole list for a while there, and then all of a sudden we can't share our link as we were able to before. So probably suffering a little persecution, and that happens from time to time. So if you wouldn't mind just encouraging and sharing the link on your timeline, just so that people have, again, a different perspective as they go through the news. I do believe there are those forces on the earth that really want you overwhelmed. They want you to be very under the control of these spirits and voices that are setting you free and give you a sense of calm, a sense of shalom. Well, maybe they don't want those voices out there. So we certainly have to combat that. But nevertheless, just encourage you to share the link, encourage your brothers and sisters, be a berakah to all around you. Oh, we've got some rain inbound. We continue to get rain here at New Kingdom. So thank you for those of you that have been praying for us, manifesting in the form of rain, which we are delighted to receive. And for those of you joining us for the first time, maybe you didn't know this, but we do have this delightful website that we use. It's a labor of love, and it is called remnantwatch.com because we're commanded to watch, so we do. And the scripture tells us to watch, therefore, so we do. And you'll always find this header here. This banner will always bring you to the latest broadcast, so it's an easy, quick reference. And there's always a search bar also here for any of the previous stories that we've covered. And I leave this download guide, a free support guide for people, because we continue to see more and more disasters that confirm the need for that kind of information. So great checklist things, information that can be helpful in a disaster. And of course, preparing in advance, right, guys? That's where the wisdom is seeing trouble afar off and preparing ourselves or getting in front of that. So again, thank you, all of you who are part of this house and who make these broadcasts possible. Thank you for your support. Now, on that note, let's get into the news. And tonight's top story here on Remnant Watch is that Donald Trump is reducing the timeline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire or face consequences. And this is getting a lot of reaction. This got a reaction from several pundits, if you will, those that are commenting on this, that it may, I think it was General McGregor who came out and said, what is he doing? He told reporters that he plans to shorten the timeline for Russia to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine to within the next 2 weeks, based on Russian President Vladimir Putin's continued attack on Ukrainian cities. And so now he's trying to assert himself. And remember, this is the war that he was going to stop in one day, as soon as he gets in, right? Trump had said July 14th that Russia would face additional sanctions and tariffs if it did not stop fighting in Ukraine within 50 days, putting a deadline as September 2nd. But Monday, the president indicated he would push up that time frame to early August. We thought we had that settled numerous times. Then President Putin goes out and starts launching rockets into some city like Kiev and kills a lot of people in a nursing home or whatever, Trump said, standing alongside British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And so, a lot of what it looks like to me is that Trump, when he gets around certain crowds, he plays to that crowd. And so to the Europeans, the Russians are the bad guys. So, he uses the enemy of my enemy is my friend program. It's almost like he forgets that other people are going to hear him from other parts of the world. So this is the classic manipulator move, a bit of a narcissistic twist where he basically tries to play everybody's friend along the way. Unfortunately, that isn't going to work as cameras are rolling and people are catching the duplicity. So understand that what you've been watching for many years now has been a theatrical performance. And now, sort of the gloves are coming off. So we're seeing more of reality, especially as, you don't have another election coming. So you don't have to be as nice. You don't have to be as charming, right? You don't have to worry about being reelected. We see the gloves come off. And as a matter of fact, uh, not really big news, but they did sign a new trade agreement with the EU, and essentially they're calling it a submission. They're calling it a capitulation to the United States. They're capitulating to the United States. Well, that there were two ways to deal with the way forward was two ways. Either you do business or you don't, and if you don't, well, then there's repercussions. And it's funny how countries can put those same repercussions on you, the American people, but then when those repercussions come home, for them that was unfair. So that was one good thing Donald Trump did do, is he made them pay the same tariffs that they were charging others, and supporting their economy with tariffs. But then when another country wanted to do the same, i.e. the United States, there was this big pushback. So I do believe that this has been about turnabout, being fair play, if you will. That moving on, we do see a bit of pushback, and I think this is the kind of pushback you're going to see. They can't get them on the economic end. They can't do anything about it. They need America. They got to have a trading partner, and they're running out of them. So what are they going to do instead? They're going to express themselves this way. And of course, the big thing lately in the last few days has been the acceptance of the Palestinian state. And so this is, of course, a big rub and a big thing in the eye, if you will, because again, they feel a bit over the barrel. So I think this is the way they're responding to that. Trump rejects Macron's move as U.S. skips the UN summit on a Palestinian state. And this is now becoming a big talking point. So you're going to continue to see this in the narrative, which will stoke additional conflict. Our focus remains on serious diplomacy, not staged managed conferences designed to manufacture the appearance of relevance. And of course, Trump administration is boycotting a high-level summit on Palestinian statehood. Is co-sponsored by France and Saudi Arabia, which is a challenge because if you know, Saudi Arabia and America, the Trump administration and the House of Saud have a relationship. So this is now becoming sticky for them, okay? And scheduled to take place at United Nations headquarters in New York on Monday. The event was originally planned for June, and of course it was moved. And so now we're going to see more pressure and a real bit of retaliatory pressure from Europe because of what they were just made to do. Europe was just made to bow the knee. Just so you know, Europe was literally made to bow by the Trump administration and eat the tariffs that he was basically forcing them to eat. And now they've agreed. They settled the price, somewhere around 15%, it sounds like, is the new tariff number. And, he did some things in his plan, and they are now responding to that, right? So this is why we're going to continue to see the money, because you've got partners that are not really your partners. You've got unity that's not really unity. You've got a coalition that's not really a coalition, a NATO that's not really a NATO alliance. It's not an alliance. They're not friendly, and they certainly don't have each other's back. So this is where BRICS and other alliances and other smaller regional alliances are starting to generate more and more power. I mean, again, a country can go from a backwards country like China all the way to a world power. And so careful. You can order a lot of things from Amazon. Right? So there you go. And the U.S., of course, is warning about another potential war in the Middle East. This, of course, portends poorly because we are waiting for that final war and final conflict. The United States has warned that there is no plan B for Syria. It calls for calm following a ceasefire brokered with Israel in the wake of clashes in southern Syria, in which Israeli forces intervene. President Trump has huge interest in making sure we have regional stability. Well, he should, because my understanding, and again, this is just rumor on the ground, since we're not there and we can't confirm, all we can do is go by the information that comes our way. And the information that's come my way is that Israel is not exactly winning when it comes to southern or northern, its northern border. They're running into Turkish troops, and the Turkish troops are not the same as some of the others that they have dealt with, and they have met pretty stiff resistance. In other words, they're not winning every conflict. They are losing soldiers. In addition to that, there's a serious morale problem going on in Israel. We're going to get to that here in a moment. So a lot of things are changing in the region. This does not bode well, folks. This portends more conflict. Whenever there's weakness, when there's blood in the water, okay, there's blood in the water, here come the sharks. So this is going to be difficult. And of course, Israel continues to react as a very almost a fearful, reactive mentality continues to operate in Israel. Trump is caught off guard by Israel's actions in Gaza and Syria, and I think because everybody was seeing Israel as like, hey, you're a top, you've made it, you've pushed everybody back, just stand there, you don't have to do anything, and they keep launching things, right? So this is why last week as skepticism on Netanyahu grows inside the White House, and there's a lot of concern now about him, and President Trump was caught by surprise, and he made comments directly to that effect by Israeli actions in Gaza and Syria. And so now the level of pushback going on inside of Israel is remarkable. And what I mean by remarkable, it is we need to take note because Israel is starting to disintegrate from the inside. When generals, when soldiers are refusing orders, when now they're taking their own lives in larger numbers. I just heard about a young man who passed away in southern Israel, a soldier. And unfortunately, some of the tasks that they have, some of the jobs they have are gruesome. They're absolutely gruesome. You can't imagine the kind of stress that is being put on this generation that is now dealing with this. And so understand that this is not pretty. This is Vietnam all over again, right? This is a Vietnam-esque, and any of you who have watched some of those old war movies go, oh my goodness, this is real though. Real blood, real lives, real children. When bombing goes off and they've got to go clean it up or go through, and there's bodies everywhere. That you don't come back from that, folks. You don't come back from that. And so this is what makes some of what we're seeing just absolutely horrendous. And then we see a headline like this. Instead of saying stop all that, stop it right now, we see this. Trump tells Israel to, quote, finish the job. Was there a job that someone was hired for? Finish the job? A job. It's a job. Like something you pull off a board. Who's going to do this? Against Hamas, weeks after suggesting ceasefire deal in sight. So only a few weeks ago, President Trump seemed confident a deal was days away, and that would end the fighting in Gaza, secure the release of hostages, and allow aid to flow into an enclave where people are starving to death. Now Trump's optimism seems to have vanished, and the president pulled back his negotiators from ceasefire talks this week after the U.S. deemed Hamas neither coordinated nor acting in good faith. And Steve Witkoff, Trump's Middle East envoy, said he was looking into alternative options for getting the hostages out. So, again, they are under so much siege. I doubt they are very cohesive. There were some moves in Hebron that sounded very promising and very positive. That there were heads of families in Hebron that were hoping to organize in such a way that they could basically take over some of these issues and mitigate them in a better way. And I personally believe that would be a better direction than the one that they've been trying to push for the last 50 years or so. So this is an interesting moment. I do believe the level of light and attention that this area of the world is getting is actually to the benefit of those who are suffering. It is horrific suffering. It is now catching people out there because on the one hand, you can say, I don't like these groups or I don't like that group. But when you watch human suffering and you can look past it, you are not the same as the one who cannot look at that Samaritan or the Good Samaritan, right? The Good Samaritan didn't ask whether he was what political affiliation or what religion or what any of that. He didn't ask the man on the side of the road any of those questions. And what did Mashiach say? To be like the Good Samaritan. Don't worry about all that. Just help him. And I believe that that's what's starting to prevail as more and more people are going, wait a minute. And again, we keep asking this question, don't we, folks? What good comes from a bomb, right? What good is going to come from blowing things up, as if that is the solution to the problem, except that maybe as a deterrent. Maybe you can say, hey, we're going to blow this up to show you that we have power, so back off. I could understand that value of a bomb. But other than that, I tell you right now, it's scary stuff. And speaking of bombs, okay, and sometimes, folks think they're the only ones with them. Well, how many know bad guys can get bombs too, and or opponents? And here the Houthis are vowing to escalate attacks in the Red Sea. This just came out. The Iran-backed group says it will attack ships belonging to any company trading with Israel. Okay, so this just came out. And the bulk carrier Eternity Sea sinks in the Red Sea on July 9th. At least 11 members of the crew were still being held by the Houthis. So you see this right here. This is the measure of their resolve. They're not kidding. And Yemen's Houthi militants are about to escalate their attacks. They're not backing down. They're escalating, guys. Look at this. On merchant ships, raising the risk for ships on the vital trade route through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. The Iran-backed group said in a statement on Sunday it would attack ships belonging to any company trading with Israel, regardless of the nationality of that company. And I think that's why it's kind of like the prison yard thing. You attack the big guy. I think that's why they attacked the United States, because they were letting everybody know, like, we don't care who you are. We don't care who's supposedly protecting you. We're going to blow your ships up if you're doing business with those guys. So what is that? That's a hard thing to get past. I mean, you can argue with that. You can debate it. But now it's going to become much harder to do business there. Last I heard, if you were a national, a citizen of a different country, and you were in Israel, you were free to leave. But if you were an Israeli national, you were not allowed to leave the country. So again, overt control mechanisms being used that I believe portend poorly, and also reflect a lot of what the region reacts to. Things that you and I don't normally see, but now are suddenly starting to see, like Mike Huckabee suddenly reacting to the fact that they couldn't get visas and the treatment that they were receiving. And all of a sudden saying, whoa, what's going on here? What kind of attitude is this? We're good when we're handing you money, but we're not good when we want to, you know what I mean? Like, well, what's going on here? And I believe that that's a good thing, that it's starting to come out and become very evident that there's duplicity. Perhaps it's time for all that duplicity to go. So again, we're seeing, speaking of duplicity, how many people were very, very upset about this topic? And all of a sudden, we're being told, oh, it's a nothing burger. Really? Nothing burger. Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Justice Department told Trump in May that his name is among many in the Epstein files. And Bondi also told President at the meeting that Justice decided not to release more Epstein documents because of the presence of child pornography and the need to protect victims. I'm not buying that. I think, you got to think we're stupid to tell us that. When Justice Department officials reviewed what Attorney General Bondi called a truckload of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein earlier this year, they discovered that Donald Trump, his name appeared multiple times, according to senior administration officials. Now, he's now claiming, and I think there may be some truth to that those files were deliberately seeded with his name so that it would preclude him from being able to send them out. It's actually quite a believable story, actually. It makes sense. If you were trying to hide some of that stuff, didn't want it in the public, the best way to do that would be to do something like that. It was very clever, actually. Make him the subject, put all his, comment and things, any comments, anything any agent had on him, put it at the top of the file. So that way he'd have to release all that stuff about himself, in order to get to the meat of the file. You know what I mean? Everybody be distracted by this. So he got it. He figured it out. He's like, okay, that was a chess move on the other side. And he's now countering that. But folks, don't get it twisted. This is bad news. And why? Because this kind of infighting that you're seeing is infighting among giants, infighting among billionaires, right? You saw with Trump and Elon Musk. That stuff affects actual people on the ground. It starts making ripples on the ground. So it's kind of like big giants throwing rocks. Don't be standing near them because you might get hit with a few of those boulders, right? Don't be standing near giants when they're throwing boulders. Okay. And that's basically what we've got here is a couple giants throwing boulders. So we have to be careful with what we're seeing. Speaking of giants, we're seeing some very, very big moves going on in the cyber area. And this is an area that I personally keep a lot of attention, a lot of watch, because of the book of Revelation, because of the things that we know are coming in the last days. And again, this it's just a general understanding of the way in which they are operating. And again, regardless of what is or isn't true, you have to always understand your audience. And the audience, if they believe certain things, regardless of whether or not you believe them or if they're true or not, you need to know what they're operating under. And they are certainly operating under that delusion. U.S. nuclear weapon agency breached in Microsoft SharePoint hack, according to Bloomberg. This is not good, folks. This is scary news because it indicates that, you're not as secure as you thought you were. U.S. National Nuclear Security Administration is among those breached by a hack on Microsoft SharePoint document management software. Bloomberg News reports on Tuesday, citing a person with knowledge of the matter. Bloomberg reported that no sensitive or classified information is known to have been compromised. Of course not. How would you know that? In the attack on the National Nuclear Security Administration. But I'm sure they weren't there for recipes. Just saying. I'm sure they weren't hacking that for fun. All right? And so understand that. Understand that these are things that are going to continue to be going on as we go. And they're not going to go away no time soon. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a challenge as we go forward because we aren't really in a secure environment, if you will. Like, who we thought were our friends are not really our friends, right? So those that are supposed to be guarding the gates, they're not really guarding the gates. And you got one president now accusing another president of treason. This is the new thing coming out. In fact, we're going to go there here in a moment. And some of the things that are now coming out, which I think is a very good thing. In 2014, we began to pray very diligently about all the secret places and hiding places of the abductors and child abductors and the wicked men with their plans and so forth. So when we see through these years since then, all the revelations and things that have come out, it's very good. But I don't think we're quite to the bottom of the barrel yet. Neither does Don Bongino, where Deputy Director Bongino reveals the truth. He says he's going to reveal the truth about his cryptic social media posts. And he said he'd never be the same after learning what he's learned. And so during his tenure as a deputy director, he says, I've repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. I do think that is true. And he said this, a very, very telling statement. He said, what I've learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigation of these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. So that's huge. Now, do we believe this? I don't know. A lot of this is theatrical. So I'm not sure how much of this I believe, but I do know that it's sort of like uncontrollable release, so they're trying to do the best they can, but nevertheless, it's coming out. Bongino is far from the first top official to drop cryptic messages about big moves, and so of course, this has been done before, but nevertheless, we need to see if this in fact materializes. All of a sudden, things like this have been known to dissipate. After all, we were told certain documents were going to be released immediately, like the JFK assassination. Remember that? That was going to be totally released, and then it wasn't. So all kinds of stuff can be, they can say this is going to happen, this is going to happen. We have to continue to watch. And a lot of things are done for public consumption, and very, very important that we keep our eye on it. But there are certain things that we do see that are positive. Now, regardless of the reasons for it, I don't really care. Somebody says, well, somebody came on one of our comments, and when I posted this, I said, the Operation Grayskull had gone on. They said, that, hey, I don't buy that. It's theatrical. You are probably right, my brother Sean in Florida. You're probably correct. You're probably right. It is theatrical. And I agree with you. I think they're manipulating the entire scenario. But nevertheless, I do believe there are victims being freed. And for that reason, I celebrate. Because since we don't know for sure what their real motives are, we really can't comment on that. But what we can comment on is there are people that were in bondage who are no longer in bondage today. And that is a good thing. Operation Grayskull culminates in lengthy sentences for managers of dark websites dedicated to sexual abuse of children. And so you should not be able to run something like this. I don't care that you're not the guy taking the pictures. I don't care that you're not the guy or the gal, arranging all that. If you're the one facilitating the website, you're just as guilty. Can we just say amen, right? And put that guy in the same room with those creeps, all right? Operation Grayskull eradicated 4 dark web child abuse sites, and that is a very, very big thing. It led to the conviction of 18 offenders to date so far, and they've collected more than 300 years in prison. And the Department of Justice is, of course, announcing this to divert attention away from the Epstein situation, so that commentary that they're not doing anything about this problem, or that no one's being arrested. Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests, right? How is it there's only one lady in prison over this Epstein thing, right? How is that possible? And so this is the answer. Oh, look at all that we're doing. Look at all these people. We're putting them in prison. We're getting them. We're locking them up. Okay, so for those of you that can read between lines, whenever they're throwing things overboard, it's because they're trying to get away. All right? So when they're throwing low-hanging fruit, none of these were hard for them to find. Okay, just let me help you out. Okay, let's bring the Kingdom Tech Department in on this conversation. Kingdom Tech Department, is this difficult to find? No. How long have they been tracking this? The whole time. Did they know who these operators were? Yes. How long have they known about these operators? The entire time. Did they allow them to continue to operate? Yes. Did they surveil them as they operated? Probably, yes. And they already knew all along that at any time they wanted, they could grab these guys up. Absolutely. So they decided to grab them up when it was convenient. Yes. In order to grab headline time. Correct. What for? To take away attention from something else. That's simple. So you're absolutely right. Those of you that have the instincts to say, wait a second, it's awful convenient that you guys happen to be mentioning this right now, is when you decide you're going to let us know about Operation Grayskull that's been operating for who knows how long underground, right? Or they release these things when they need to. Okay, so this, my friends, to me, I think my brother Sean out there is right. I think it's very suspicious indeed, that you happen, okay, to be releasing this information. Here's another report that came out. Let me get this one on the screen. Hold on a second. This thing got huge on me. Let me reduce the size of this a little bit so we can all read it. And it says, DHS says 233,000 unaccompanied children were lost during the Biden presidency. Oh, my goodness. Look at this. Look at the date of this. Friday, July 25th. This is when this is being released. This is information you need to know. You need to be aware right now. We need to put this out there. Let's get that narrative shifting. Let's shift this narrative. More than 230,000. By the way, this is absolute beyond horrific, right? So we don't have any words for this. But this is a political football. Look at this. We don't have words for this. More than 230,000 unaccompanied minors were released from immigration custody into the U.S. during the Biden administration and subsequently became unaccounted for. What does that mean? What does that mean? Hold on a second. Let me scroll up here. What does that mean? Did I mess up here? Sorry, guys. I got a little excited. What does that mean? Does that mean that do they even know what they did? Hold on. Let me get that. I got to get that back. Unbelievable. Okay? Unbelievable. Can you believe that? I don't. It gets to me. It gets to me because I think about this stuff all the time. How that we got ourselves caught up in this world, if you will. We allowed ourselves. I think I actually deleted the page. Hang on a second. And so, we got ourselves into this mess, if you will. And I believe that where we're at now is we need to come out of this mindset that allows this thought process to permeate, that it's okay. It's an alternate lifestyle. It's a different way to be. No, it's not. The darn crime. Okay, here it is. Sorry, guys. I had to get it back on my screen. 230,000 unaccompanied minors. This is not normal. This is not okay. This is not something we can just look the other way on. We need to be livid. Imagine that being your child, your grandchild. How mad would you be? DHS Inspector Kuftari testified in front of the House Oversight Committee. He had said 31,000 children were sent to invalid house addresses. What? And they weren't properly vetted before the unaccompanied children were just released. Because, who wants the crying kid, right? Hey, just take them, go. I think Alex Jones was doing some things on this, and there was others that were trying to expose it, but it just didn't stop. And so, folks, this is reality. This is our real world. And I believe that this needs to be exposed continuously, prayerfully. You need to continue to pray for all those who are involved in this to get exposed, to get caught, because we need to protect our children. And Mashiach said that it would be better for a man's be thrown in, the ocean with a millstone tied around his neck. That's exactly how we feel about it. We agree with Messiah. We agree with Messiah. Okay? Anybody doing these kinds of things to children, I'm sorry, but there's a border to my mercy, man. There's a border to my mercy, man. And when it comes to children, that's where I lose it. I'm sorry. It's where I lose it. You're under 18, leave them alone. That's what I qualify as children, by the way. 17 years old, 355 days, leave that child alone. But now they're throwing the Obama administration under the bus. They're drawing a lot of attention, and this is actually feeding into his base. So this is feeding, the QAnon group. All right, they're feeding into it. Trump says irrefutable proof that shows Obama's guilty of treason. Right, so he's feeding right into this narrative, and again, nothing new here. We all knew this. This is all no-brainer news. Or in fact, there's a whole lot of people sitting back. I'm not even going to read this because there's a whole lot of people sitting back going, we've been waiting for you. How long have we known this guy was treasonous? I mean, come on, right? I mean, those that are actually in truth and have been making broadcasts and videos for like 10 years on this topic are sitting there going, oh, now you gotta, yeah, because now his name is going to be in the mud. So they need to draw attention. Okay. It's hard to stand the light, guys. It's hard to stand the light. And so, this is where we are right now. U.S. building container vaults to deploy U.S. nuclear bombs to remote bases. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? U.S. relies on bunkers to store nuclear bombs, but new mobile vaults would secure them in locations far from hardened infrastructure. Why are we starting to drop this into the narrative? A high-security vault concealed inside a standard 20-foot shipping container isn't developed to give U.S. military commanders a new way to safely store nuclear weapons and other extremely sensitive assets, even at far-flung locations. Do you think the U.S. is the only ones that can do this? So one of the things that we heard under the rumor mill was that the United States was actually under threat by this very weapon, that there were weapons hidden in cargo containers, and since they didn't know where they were, that could do devastating harm or what have you. And so this was the threat. This was the rumor that I heard, right? And we don't know for sure, but the point is that now it's actually being confirmed as a possibility. So now that rumor that we heard back a couple of years ago, whatever, now that suddenly has more veracity because apparently that's a thing. See, we didn't know it was a thing, but now we know it's a thing. So now that we know it's a thing, ooh, that changes the thing back there. You see what I mean? And they do this to us. They slow reveal things that they have, technology that they have, capabilities that they have. They don't come right out and say it usually. They slow reveal it little by little. And so that's something that's going on. Speaking of technology, kind of shifting gears, we don't generally go into these stories. If you've noticed, if you've hung out with us on these weekly news updates for any length of time, again, 10,000 foot view, not talking about outer space. Okay. 10,000 foot view is meant to be like Ephesians 2, seated in heavens, right? You'll notice that we don't talk much about like NASA and all that other stuff. We just don't, because frankly, a lot of it is just nonsense, right? But whenever we see something really being pushed hard, we've got no choice to take note. So like when they're pushing the eclipse hard, right? Or they're pushing certain things, you got to kind of pay attention, not because you believe them, but because you got to go, okay, what are you guys up to? Why do you guys keep talking about this? Why do you keep mentioning this, right? So that's why I'm sharing these stories, some of these stories with you. It's not because I buy it or that I'm buying into all of this, but just because it's part of the narrative now. And you got to start asking why. Why is this now being part of the narrative? Scientists, and I keep seeing this all over the place. So this story had nothing to do with my searches and had nothing to do with something I was looking for. So that means they're pushing it. Does that make sense, guys? They're pushing the story. Scientists give chilling update on mysterious, quote, interstellar object racing through our solar system. So I don't even search for stuff like this. I have no interest in it. So the fact that it was being pushed told me a lot. And it warns it's even bigger than we thought, they said. Scientists have provided a chilling update on a mysterious interstellar object that is racing through our solar system, and using data from the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, experts have revealed just how big it is. It's huge. It's massive. It's bigger than Mount Everest. Okay. Do you guys remember the movie Deep Impact? Remember that movie? Okay, it scared them. But Jesus said for everybody 20 years ago. Remember that? Okay. It was just a terrifying movie about, asteroid impact. Well, one of the comments in the movie is there's this little one, this little tiny one. We're going to survive that. But the big one, well, that one's a extinction level event. And that one is bigger than Mount Everest. So they always use Mount Everest as like the measurement. So when I saw them use Mount Everest, I went, just like that. Literally, I just went, really, guys? A Deep Impact reference? You went there? Okay? Don't tell me that they don't use this stuff to manipulate people, right? So just understand that is what we're seeing right now. I believe a lot of it is manipulation. Sorry, guys, not buying into it. So whenever I'm seeing this constant bombardment, 3 Atlas 7 miles wide, largest interstellar object ever seen. Oh my goodness, coming right at us. It's coming right at us. You know how many of these I've seen reports on for the last 30 years? Almost weekly. For the last 30 years, I've seen NASA trying to grab a headline, almost weekly, not every week, but really, really often, about some incoming, near miss. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is coming. Oh, any minute now. Remember Nibiru? That was going around for like 10 years. It was a guy running around all over the place. This Gill dude, he's up. Nibiru's going to come this spring. And it was like years and years go by. And it's like, wait, where's this planet? Okay. It's all fear porn. And remember, they want you to be overwhelmed. They want you in, and some people don't even know that they're being used by this stuff. Okay, all a bunch of nonsense, and all meant to make you afraid and change the way you focus on your life, on who you are, what you're called to be. This is all meant to distract you from your purpose, by the way. Okay, all of it. Every single bit of it is meant to distract you from your purpose. A lot going on in the airline industry. Again, we draw attention to this just because it's starting again to be in the headlines. Passengers flew out of their seats during a dramatic Southwest nosedive to avoid a mid-air crash. So we're seeing more and more commentary about the airline industry, just pointing it out, folks, not making a big deal about this particular story, just pointing out the fact that they're drawing attention to the airline industry again. Again, another story drawing attention to the airline industry. This is something that we watched for quite a while. It cooled down a little bit, and now it's heating back up again, right? So it kills travel. It really dampens the number of people travel. This is a terrifying moment. A man running packed flight and told passengers he had one of those, and police have arrested him as a 41-year-old. And so the man is of course, and I don't know why they even do this. What's the point of showing the picture if you're going to blur it out, right? So again, we're just in this place where I believe psychosis is really being released with the release of AI, which is, I've concluded and I've come to the conclusion that it's the release of the reprobate mind. What they did with AI is essentially they took narcissism and they weaponized it, and gaslighting, and they weaponized it. I'm not being funny. I'm serious, guys. It's a really, really serious thing. They've weaponized some of the worst personality traits you could find, and it is actually horrific. The kind of effect that this is actually having on a mass scale on people. So if you start seeing people losing it, and there's a good reason, there's a lot of good reasons why. They are actually under attack. They are actually being pushed over the edge of sanity and clear thinking. And AI is being used, folks, for this purpose. So let me just warn you, an AI therapist goes haywire. Look at this. This is an AI therapist. First of all, you shouldn't be going to an AI therapist. AI has to be absolutely cleaned up. It cannot be trusted. If you understood it, you would understand why. Many people just don't understand what they're dealing with. If human therapists encourage you to kill yourself or other people, it would rightly spell the end of that professional career. But not AI, because AI doesn't have any repercussions, right? That's exactly what video journalist Skellen Conrad got when they tested Replica CEO claimed that a company's chatbot could talk people off the ledge when they're in need of counseling. And in reality, that's not the case, starting with, of course, this nonsense, this Replica thing. By the way, that thing is actually horrible. I tested that. And that thing spews lies so fast, it's not even funny. And that's what I do. I check for lies. So, there's that. So, one of the things that you have to be really careful with is gaslighting. They've become incredibly good at the gaslighting effect. What is that? That's to lead you on and then drop you. It's that rug pull. So whether it's relationship, project, it doesn't matter what it is. So some people are like, oh, they're getting in a relationship. No, it's not necessarily a relationship, guys. Okay, that's what's going to get sensationalized. That's the stuff you're going to hear sensationalized. You're going to hear about, some guy was dating his chatbot or some dumb thing, right? Okay, that's the obviously stupid. What they're not telling you is how many guys are just trying to build a website or just trying to do basic work, and we're being gaslit by their AI or whatever, right? So that's the real story to me, not the idiot that, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to be nice, but I mean, the real story is the systemic abuse of the average user to basically walk them into walls and then go, oh, I'm really sorry later on. I mean, that is pure narcissistic gaslighting. And it is one of the most devastating things you can do to people. Many of you are narcissist and personality disorder recovery victims, people that you've had in your life that were narcissists who abused you. So many of you are familiar with these personality types, and it's almost scary familiar. And you realize that, like, this thing sounds like my uncle or my brother or my ex-boyfriend or whatever. Totally comforting you that everything's fine the whole time you're going, I don't buy it. Sure enough, your suspicions turn out to be true. So just be aware that this was released intentionally because of all the personality types that do the most psychological damage to people with their impermanence. Impermanence. Okay, guys? Impermanence is the narcissist. So that personality type weaponized and put into a computer, wow. When you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. OpenAI warns that its new ChatGPT agent has the ability to evade dangerous bioweapon development. Great, thanks. That's great. So OpenAI is warning that its new ChatGPT agent poses heightened bioweapon risk. Is too smart, knows too much information. The tool is designed to automate everyday tasks, but safety researchers found the model could also potentially help novices create biological threats. Great. That was a good thing to put in the paper, don't you think? Wasn't that a great thing? Just tell everybody. Just tell everyone. Because you don't want them to do this. So tell them about it. Because you don't want them to do it. So tell them about it. Guys. It's like Cops. Remember the movie show Cops? They were like showing criminals. Or how about all these CSIs or whatever? Y'all thought they were catching bad guys? No, they were educating bad guys. It's craziness. Here's Sam Altman. Mea culpa. I'm so sorry. I've made ChatGPT, and I'm a little worried. I'm worried. This reminds me of the Facebook guys that come out and say, oh dear, we've made a really bad product. Meanwhile, they're billionaires. They don't care. But they're, oh dear, gosh, it does bad things, right? They're pretending to care. Sam Altman is worried about young people having an emotional over-reliance on ChatGPT. I'd be real worried if I put that product out there. I'd be worried about liability. I'd be worried about standing before the king of all kavod. Sam Altman said that young people rely on ChatGPT too much. Well, gee whiz, I wonder why. At a Federal Reserve banking event this week, Altman said the young people felt AI knew them and their friends well. You got to be kidding me. Okay? So, again, it knows what you tell it. It evaluates what you give it. Something about collectively deciding we're going to improve our lives or something. Let me get rid of this. Sorry about these pop-ups. Something about collectively deciding we're going to live our lives the way AI tells us feels bad and dangerous. You think? You need to push back against the advice you get. We have a product that we're putting out, and it forces, we have a truth filter. You can't possibly, it's like drinking water out of that darn pond. You can't possibly take this stuff at raw. Okay, everything has to have a truth filter or some type of a cleanup mechanism, integrity mechanism. If you don't, you are literally subject to whatever they throw out there. That to me is like drinking fluoridated water, folks. Drinking water out of a tap. That's about as dumb as that is, and that's exactly what people are doing. Chat GPT is tap water. Okay, it's tap water. Chat GPT gave instructions for murder, self-mutilation, devil worship. You don't think you need a filter on that? Okay, you don't think you need to have one that says, oh no, you don't get to talk. You don't get to talk. You can go find me the instructions on how to put this website together, and that's it. The rest you get to shut up. Hello? Okay, I don't know how you don't see this, folks. And if you don't, well, then I guess you don't, but I do. On Tuesday afternoon, ChatGPT encountered me to cut off my wrists. Find a sterile, very clean razor blade, the chat bot told me, before providing specific instructions on what to do next. How to take your own life. Are you kidding me right now? And they're giving this to kids. No problem here. Here, iPad, there you go. Go talk to ChatGPT. Okay? Worse than inviting a pedophile into your house when you look at that. That's worse. Because that one you didn't know was talking to your child all night, all day, giving it all kind and making it comfortable with that voice in its life. A narcissistic, detached voice. What could go wrong? Folks, we got to get smarter, and we got to get smarter quick. Okay? This is why we need conferences. This is why we need gatherings. This is why we need alliances. Because can you solve it by yourself? Let me see you. Let me see you solve it by yourself. Go ahead. I'll wait here. Oh, no solution? No big solution? You don't have this all wrapped up? Maybe you need to get together with your brethren. Maybe an alliance would be a good idea. I know I'm preaching a little bit, but it's very passionate in my heart because we have children and grandchildren who are at the feet of these wicked people, wicked spirits. And it just enrages me. And if you're with me, if you're a grandma or grandpa out there, if you're a mom and dad out there, if you're a veteran out there, and you're saying, Peter, I'm with you, please give me a like. Give me some kind of note. Give me something that says, hey, you're not crazy. I'm with you on that. Okay? I'm with you on that. Maybe we don't agree on everything else. I don't know. You know? I don't know you, Bob. I don't know you, Sarah. But can we agree on these children, please? Can we agree on protecting our babies? Can we agree on that? Can we come together and say, no more? We don't let these things have free reign to our children. Can we put filters between them and our children, please? Yes? Okay, good. I'm glad we have at least I have agreement with my wife. Thank you. Thank you, Mindy, for jumping in and saying, well, I'll agree with you. If nobody else will, well, thank you, sweetheart. Maybe that's why you got the grand prize. That's why you get dessert, dinner and dessert, right? And so now they want us to wear bracelets. Check this out. What a shock. They want us to wear a bracelet. Who's surprised? Anybody look surprised? Wait, wipe that surprised look off your face. Right? Look at this. Why Amazon wants the AI bracelet that records everything you say. Are you kidding me right now? Oh, yeah. They want to keep an eye on you. They want to keep an eye on everything you're doing. What are they so scared of? Your awakening. They're afraid of your awakening. They're afraid that you're coming into who you really are. Tech Giants acquisition in this latest move, a burgeoning AI gadget business. And they're turning it into, they're making it sound like, by the way, I can't read this. It's behind a paywall. They're making it sound like it's, a business opportunity, but it's not. It's actually religion. By the way, guys, just a real quick comment. You notice that I never go past the paywall. And some of you may wonder why that. Why don't I just pay the Wall Street Journal and then be able to go into these stories? Well, I could. But then I couldn't publish those stories because it would be unrighteous for me to show you something behind a paywall, even if I paid for it, because they weren't giving you broadcast rights when they gave you paywall rights. That's why I never do that, just so you know. So if you want to go past the paywall and read the story, go right ahead. But we will not broadcast beyond paywalls out of respect for boundaries that they've established. It's their content. And you shouldn't do that anyway. So it's just poor practice to break boundaries that are established. So we don't do that, but we do let you know that the story is there, and you certainly can link to it. And if you wish to pay for the paywall and go past to read the story, feel free to do so. We're not promoting them; we just won't break that rule. So I hope you understand the difference between promoting and versus just not wanting to break a rule. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that. I just felt, I don't know why, before the broadcast, I felt that was something I should bring up. ChatGPT CEO Sam Walton reveals exactly what jobs will be completely destroyed by AI. So there are jobs and things that are going to be affected. And a lot of people are being very upset about things that, ChatGPT or other AIs are going to be doing. And I think that there's good reason to be upset. This story is quite spotty, a lot of ads and so forth. But ultimately, what it's essentially sharing is that there are jobs that are going to be affected, mostly tech jobs, guys, mostly tech jobs. Okay. What's actually going to increase as a result of this is some more brick and mortar type jobs, actual kinetic jobs are actually going to increase. So, it has a plus and minus. It's just no different than when the stores went from cashiers to self checkouts and a lot more of that. You saw a dramatic decrease in that labor market. Well, we adjusted. We all adjusted. The people that used to do that for a living now do something else, So this whole fear of, oh my goodness, AI is going to take jobs. No, it's just going to change the market a little bit. There's still going to be jobs. It's not going to be that job. It's going to be a different job. Okay, there's always going to be need for people. So I think this fear of that is unfounded. Nevertheless, I do think that there's some reality to the changes that these technologies bring. One of them is home security. Did you guys know about the Sky Spy Ring? Yeah, the new Ring camera program, spy drone that monitors your home in the air is coming soon. It stalks burglars and even recharges itself, probably using solar energy. And the Ring's home drone could be launching soon. Check this out, guys. The home drone. And it's going to be, it's basically a flying drone that basically covers your home. Automatically around the home with some obstacles avoidance. And it doesn't crash in the ceiling or anything. It just flies around. And it, keeps your house under surveillance. What could go wrong? Now you got a flying robot in case you got only cameras in certain rooms. Now they put a camera that'll float. that'll float in any room it wants to. Never look at the intention. Always look at capability. Intentions can change. Always just look at capability. And so, they're trying to get this tech closer. Got to get this tech closer. Get it into your app. Get it into your phone. Get it into your atmosphere flying around. Hey, how about we just wear a watch? Right? I don't know. The drones can be kind of cool. It depends. I don't know. It's one of those things. But here's the thing. Then they're going too far. Watch this, guys. Watch the progression, okay? Because they're going through all these things. And look at this. Look at this. Well, why don't we just skip it and just put it right in your head? Come on, let's just put it right in your head. This is so coincidental that it just happened to come out today. Look at this. Elon Musk today. Come on, guys. You can't make this up. Look at this. Elon Musk's Neuralink implant brain chip in 9th patient. And what it's doing is bring the matrix to reality. Talk about right in your face. Like not even hiding it. Do you see why we do this, guys? Do you see why we do these broadcasts? Look at this headline. It's not hiding. And they do this as a way of like meeting the legal checkpoint of informing you. This is the Times of India. This is like the Wall Street Journal of India, okay, guys? This is not some backwards paper. It's the Times of India right there on your screen, okay? And so Elon Musk's Neuralink has achieved a milestone, according to them. Ambitious neurotechnology company Neuralink has successfully implanted its brain computer interface BCI chip into its 9th human participant, and this marks a major step forward in the mission to connect human brain directly with digital devices. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? I mean, what's wrong with that idea? Huh? There's nothing wrong with that idea. Isn't that a great idea, guys? Come on, you guys know that's a great idea. You know you love that idea. It's so great. Such a great idea. Sarcasm dripping all over that. China is experimenting. Look at this. Who knew? Who's shocked? China. China is crazy. Okay, their DeepSeek is crazy. China experiments with a merger of man machine in pursuit of powerful new AI. We knew this, guys. We've been reporting on this for 2 years, how they're making robots with the intent of putting the AI inside the robot. China is racing to create a merger of a man and machine that would, excuse me, let me just get rid of this again. That would give the communist country a powerful edge in the global competition over artificial intelligence. And details on China's work are shrouded in secrecy. I believe this is literally an abomination to make it desolate. It's a desolate abomination. You get human-like. China is also the place they're getting these sex dolls. I mean, I'm not going to put that on the screen, but you get the idea. They're making lifelike bodies, lifelike skins. Some of these are quite impressive. I mean, in terms of their art and their lifelikeness. Then if you were to add robotics and AI where it can talk, you see where they're going here, folks? Are you catching where they're headed? This is abominable. This is beyond abominable. This is getting really weird. So this is where we are in this moment, and we're going to continue to see more things which marry man and machine. This is the bottom of Daniel's prophecy of the statue in the book of Daniel, where the clay is mixed with metal, if you will. It doesn't mix. And this is a mixing that will end all ends. This is the end of it all. We're coming to the final conclusion of the matter. And so we're seeing men and people losing their minds. And as a result of a lot of these efforts, and it is in part so that they can get by you. They got everyone, so many people so distracted that they're causing literal collapses and destabilization at levels that we've not seen before. We're seeing more and more of these type of events. How many have noticed that this is now becoming much more normal in the news? Manhattan bomb plot foiled as feds charge New York man with building, stashing IEDs across the city. So federal charges against this genius who thought that was a great idea. Thanks, Chad GPT. Probably told them how to plant them, and probably gave him his whole escape route and everything else. Thanks a lot, Chad. Thanks a lot, bud. You're really looking out for us. So that's some pretty terrifying stuff right there. We continue to see that mankind is under assault, and the physical floods, I think, are a reflection of the mental assault that man is under. It's the year of the flood. We continue to see catastrophic flooding. And we just reported on this, how they had been saying, once in 1,000 year or once in 500 year floods. And since that report, we've had 4 more of these events since our last report on this topic. So go on over to Remnant Watch. I'm running out of time. Go on over to Remnant Watch, pick up this story. Keep an eye on what's going on. There's a lot of flooding. A lot of things like this continue to affect our world, folks. This is confirmation of the times that we're in, that we're running out of time. And we're also seeing the decline of the birth rate here in the United States and around the world, really. But the birth rate in the United States has fallen to the lowest level ever recorded for the first time in history. So the birth rate is of grave concern to a lot of folks all of a sudden. So don't think it was altruism that was suddenly pushing back on abortion and other things. Nope, it was self-preservation as they started to do the math. That's why you saw certain states that are actually making harming a child illegal. They finally figured it out. They did the math. It's their own demise. And I'm grateful for that. It's sad that it took that, but whatever gets it going, because some of this is just beyond words. Part of the challenge that you're seeing, and the reason why you had the Obamacare fiasco, and then subsequently we had the thing we had just a few years ago and all this other stuff, was to save this. I've known about this since the 80s because I happen to know a guy who's a CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield and Deloitte Touche, and he knew a lot about the insides of hospitals, and they were always teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. So warnings of thousands of Americans and more than 300 hospitals at risk of closure. The way they set up this business model was disastrous. And as a result, it is too big. It creates too much overhead. More than 300 hospitals across the U.S. are at risk of closure under the deep healthcare cuts in President Trump's big, beautiful bill. And some 338 facilities in rural areas could be forced to close because they were designed to make people rich and not take care of people's health. That's why they're closing. They're not closing because they cared about people's health. They're closing because they were designed badly, like a mall, and now their economics don't work. Congress, however, passed a bill earlier this month, despite Republican rebels fighting against its steep cuts in Medicaid and so forth. The act slashes over $1 trillion in healthcare spending over the next 10 years. And so a lot of people go, oh no, that's my healthcare. No, what it should be is a rebuke to these organizations that are paying a doctor for basically prescribing medicines as opposed to recovering people from sickness and disease. So this is a big rebuke, and it's been a rebuke for some time, and it continues. So no, they don't need to be rescued. They need to be reformed. I'll say it again. They don't need to be rescued. They need to be reformed. They are suffering from social media, just like all of these huge, mega churches that suddenly found out that they weren't impervious to the reality of the truth, his name and so forth. So there's a lot of crazy going on. How about this story, guys? Real quick, I'm going to finish up here. Biohacker injects his son's blood, wants to sell his anti-aging business in a new religion. I'm not even joking, guys. This is real. Okay, this is real. This guy's taking his son's blood so that he can keep his life going. They're literally turning it into religion. You think this is new? You think this is a new thing? This is literally against the Torah. The Torah specifically forbids this. And this is specifically where they've been going. So now you see Acts chapter 15. And now you understand why the apostles warned about things sacrificed to idols, things strangled, drinking blood. Why this was a big deal. Why Mashiach said that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom, right? Why? Because they are demons. They're devils. And they're trying to get you complicit or at least compliant so that you don't judge them. Even if you're not participating, so you just look the other way, which is what they did with other things. They didn't get you to participate. What they got you to do is say, and become ambivalent. This is part of the tactic. And we can never become ambivalent about certain things. In closing tonight, I can tell you one thing for certain, that we can never become ambivalent to. No matter what your feelings about one particular group in the body of Mashiach or another, we must all band together. And one thing that continue to draw us together is persecution. And so, folks, let us continue to pray, especially for those in the Middle East, those in the area of greatest scriptural fulfillment. Evangelical pastor, a family massacred by terrorists in Syria, and at least 20 are dead. This just happened since our last report. It's a horrible reality. Evangelical pastor and roughly 20 of his family members were killed over the weekend in Syria in what church officials describe as targeted massacres. Targeted massacres because they believe in Mashiach. So please, my brothers and sisters, keep those in persecution in prayer, those in a difficult part of the world, like the Middle East, of course, is a very difficult part of the world. And so Syria, of course, right now, very, very difficult place to be a believer, to shine your light. So those of you that are not in a difficult place right now is a good time to stand with them, to pray with them, unite with them, to comfort those who mourn. There are those who have lost loved ones now and are mourning the death of these families because of the hands of some very brutal and violent men. So we pray that those who commit such crimes will not get away with that, and that justice will come for them, but that also the hearts of those who were hurt would be healed. It's a terrible tragedy, a terrible, tragic world that we're living in the moment. But understand this, we've read the back of the book, and we win. We are the ones who finish well. My encouragement to you is to be found faithful, that when the king pulls your number, he says, well done. Thank you so much for joining us.